What's up, buddy? So today we're taking a look at Future Cop LAPD, and which settings looks the best for this game in DuckStation. So we're starting here with the default settings, which is internal resolution of 1x, dithering is turned off or it's set to true colors, and the scaling is bilinear smooth. And yeah, I would say this looks pretty nice. It is somewhat faithful to how it would look on original hardware here, and yeah, I quite like this one. But if we wanted to look even more faithful to if we also had an old CRT TV, we could add some scan lines here. So let's start with that. So if we go to post-processing here, you can't really see that here. We can enable these, so I have scan lines here enabled, and also a little bit of brightness here, given that usually you need to brighten up a little bit here. So here it is turned on, and yeah, I guess this would be a little bit more faithful to how it would look on the old school TVs here. I'm usually not the biggest fan of scan lines here, but some people are. So yeah, that's how this looks, and going with scan lines and not going with 1x or the native in internal resolution doesn't really look very good here, so I'm gonna keep that to this here. And yeah, I guess this looks alright. There is also another type of scan lines here that this program also has that might look a little bit better, so let's try that. So I'm gonna remove this one, and let's see if we can find it. There it is. This one is also a pretty nice one. I think it looks a little bit better, but it also adds, at least by default there, some contrast and stuff like that. So yeah, it definitely changed the image a little bit here. But no, I think this still looks pretty alright. One thing also to look at when we have these scan lines would be with if you also turn on dithering here. So I'm going back to the graphic settings, and well, here it is. And for this game, I think it looks alright, but it is quite noticeable. It's less noticeable on the other hand when we have the scan lines here, so that kind of blends in things a little bit better. So yeah, let's go back to post-processing, remove this current scan lines here, and add the ones I had before here. That doesn't add the contrast and stuff like that. So that's how this one looks here. I think this one might be a little bit nicer, but I guess it depends on what one prefer there. So yeah, that was the scanline thing. So well, let's remove this one. There we go. Also for the dithering there, I usually want so if we turn off post-processing here and go back to graphics and turn this off again, or go to the default true colors, it is a little bit brighter here when it's turned off here. So yeah, with the dithering turned off or on here, I do want to brighten this up a little bit, and you can also do that with the post-processing here with the I'm using simple brightness here. So that's how that looks here. So yeah. Next up, let's try well, let's first of all go back to default here, true colors for the dithering, and let's change the internal resolution here to this recording's resolution, which is 4K. There we go. And yeah, that makes things a lot more crispier, that's for sure. And we do have somewhat or quite noticeable in terms of the geometry or the 3D objects kind of bubbling around here. So yeah, let's turn on geometry correction next here, which yeah, that makes that go away for the most part here. So that looks pretty nice here. And as for going with a good internal resolution, it's not too bad in this game. I'm usually not the biggest fan of just increasing the internal resolution, but for this game the textures are not exactly amazing, but it's not super bad. So I think it still works all right here with a good internal resolution. Let's also see how it looks when we turn on dithering here again. It's a lot more noticeable here when we also uses this. And yeah, for this game I think I kind of prefer it turned on here, but it's not. It is quite a lot here in some places. For example, if we go to this little this part here, yeah, here it is quite noticeable. And again, it's also a little bit. It kind of need to brighten it up a little bit there. So I'm gonna turn on or go back to post processing and turn on the brightness. I'm only using one step here in the simple brightness scale here, so it's at 1.1 here that I'm using. So yeah, this looks pretty nice here, I would say. But let's next thing, let's have a look at the downsampling here. So let's turn this on. So I'm keeping the internal resolution of 4K, and that is then downsampled back to the native resolution, which well, it's a pretty good alternative to the default settings. It kind of makes a little bit more smoother looking version of that. And yeah, I think it looks pretty nice here. Let's also have a look at if we change the scaling here from bilinear smooth to nearest neighbor, if you want it to be a little bit more pixelated. And yeah, for this game I think I would prefer it to be a little bit more blurry, which I usually do for most 3D games or PlayStation 1 3D games. So let's go back to bilinear smooth. And yeah, I think this looks pretty nice here, I would say. But let's also have a look at one other settings. So let's turn off downsampling and change the internal resolution here from 4K to 2x here. So it's just a slightly upscaled internal resolution, but not very much. Then go into advanced settings and turn on multi-sampling here. This is the one I found to work the best here. There we go. And yeah, here we have a little bit of the kind of in between the different settings, or a good resolution, but it's still a little bit blurry here. So I think things kind of blend in a little bit better here. So yeah, I'll say this is probably my preferred option here. Downsampling works also quite well here, but yeah, again, I would say this would be my preferred settings here for this game. Anyway, the last thing we should also have a look at would be widescreen rendering here. So yeah, let's have a look at that next. Alright, well, here we go. This is 16:9 widescreen, and yeah, this doesn't work all that well here for this game. We can, on the other hand, also make a custom aspect ratio where it is a little bit wider than the default 4:3. So yeah, let's try that. There we go. This is 13:9 here. And this is still not perfect, but I would still say it's still playable here with these settings. This is also not all that much wider than the default 4:3. So yeah, here is 4:3, and here is 13:9. So yeah, given that it's such a small difference here, I would still stick with the default 4:3, just to get so we don't have the little popping here and stuff like that. We can still get here in this aspect ratio. Anyway, this will be it for this video. You all stay awesome, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.